Living in Arizona, we may not think we see much in the way of changing seasons, but we know just how you can get your fall fix.
It's cooler here. It feels like fall versus other places in the state.
From seasonal activities to spectacular colors and the harvest you've waited for all year.
After months of working and growing the fruits and vegetables, we get to enjoy it July through October.
A slice of Americana you might not have thought was possible in the desert.
Definitely our fall activities are the most popular thing here.
North, south, east, or west, in every corner of our state, you'll find a cornucopia of colors to drink in.
Definitely local favorite would be the Railhead Red.
There are so many people living here in Arizona that came from somewhere else. And even though they will readily admit that they love the Grand Canyon State, I often hear a lot of people say, but gee, I miss the seasons. Hi everyone, I'm Robin Sewell. Welcome to Arizona Highways Television. This week, we are here not just to tell you, but to actually show you that Arizona does have seasons. We're up here just outside of Flagstaff in Lockett Meadow, and take a look around. Look at the beautiful gold, crimson, and green that are painting just a gorgeous landscape. It is definitely autumn here in Arizona.
Up in the high country of Flagstaff, the aspens are beginning to turn with the promise of cooler days and colder nights. For Arizonans, this is surely the kindest part of the year, when the leaves are a brilliant bright yellow. This is the time when we emerge from our extended air-conditioned hibernations in the desert and venture towards the light, the golden light of fall.
We moved here about 5 years from a state that only has 2 seasons, gray and hot. So we love it. It's gorgeous.
If we're lucky, yellows, reds, and oranges will cut a Technicolor swath across Arizona's mountains.
So beautiful here. We're lucky to live in the Flagstaff area where we can see lots of colors, but especially the aspens where they turn this bright gold, and here in Lockett Meadow where you're just surrounded by them in the blue sky. It's beautiful.
At an elevation of 8,600 feet, Lockett Meadow is perhaps one of the best places to take in the fall colors. Many come here at this time of year to mountain bike or hike the wonderful trails. Others come armed with cameras to take some digital memories. Some bring their dogs to share in the quiet celebration of surviving yet another long summer. But the one thing most have in common here, they all come to witness the grandeur of this place at this marvelous time of the year.
This is a great time to just enjoy, God's natural beauty. And yeah, we had to take the family. Got to get some green time or gold time. That's right.
In Arizona, seasonal offerings aren't just limited to Mother Nature.
We have 4 staples, which is our red, our IPA, our stout, and our raspberry ale. And amongst those, we also throw in probably 25 to 30 different seasonals throughout the year.
That's right, beer. And one of the best places to find your favorite is on Flagstaff's south side.
Flagstaff is becoming a beer mecca, so to speak,
Gary Blazevich is the head brewer at Beaver Street Brewery.
I consider myself a beer geek. Definitely local favorite would be the Railhead Red. It's really a transitional beer. You're going to get a little bit of malt flavor to it. It also has a little bit of a fruity ester to it from the yeast. It's a really easy drinking beer. Not too hoppy, not too malty, really medium along the line here.
And every pour has a taste of the South Side.
We definitely try to incorporate local names into our beers. The Railhead Red, we're right next to the railroad tracks. 100 yards north of us. The trains go by 100 times a day. The IPA, we used to call it the Hop Shot IPA, as kind of a play on words for the hot shots and the fire people around here. And the Railroad Stout.
At the Mother Road Brewing Company just around the corner, naming the beer is just part of the fun. The brewery gets its name from John Steinbeck's moniker for Route 66 in the Grapes of Wrath. And a piece of the original stretch of road is in every glass.
The Gold Road section is outside of Oatman, Arizona. It's that great winding serpentine stretch. It's magnificent if you ever get a chance to drive that. Twin Arrows, of course, from the old trading post out at Twin Arrows. Trading post is mostly gone, but the arrows are still there. And then our roadside was going to be called Jackrabbit after Jackrabbit, Arizona, because I think it's one of the coolest stops ever. However, there's a brewery up in Colorado that had that name, so we named it Roadside after the roadside attractions that populated Route 66.
Michael has had some fun with job titles as well.
Well, here's the deal. You start your own company, you get to make the job titles. So when my wife and I founded this brewery, we decided we were going to have some fun. We take the beer seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously.
Michael calls himself the CBO, Chief Beer Officer. His head brewmaster, the Yeast Whisperer.
This is where our yeast ferments the sweet wort down into alcohol.
And while this yeast whisperer may have his craft down to a science, he still has to run some thorough tests.
The most important thing about beer is tasting it along the way, making sure that everything is happening the right way.
And it certainly tastes like fall.
This oasis is the Boyce Thompson Arboretum in Superior. It is a sanctuary of colorful flowers and fragrances. In fact, they have even carved out a special spot where they've recreated a slice of wild Australia. That's pretty cool, isn't it? When you come here, though, it's not just all about the plants, it's also about the animals. So take a look.
The garden changes every day. Every day I come out, I see something different. Last week we had 0 irises blooming. This week I've already seen 3. And I think next week we'll have some tulips. And as it changes from season to season, there's even greater changes you might see. You'll see fall color. After the monsoons, you'll see the Queen Creek raging as a river. It's just always beautiful here, but you'll never know what you're going to find.
100 years ago, Boyce Thompson was a copper baron and multimillionaire. He also loved plants and believed in their power to feed the world. His original mission for this beautiful place? Give the University of Arizona a place to study the plants of the deserts of the world. But don't be turned off by those serious beginnings.
We encourage people to have fun here at the Arboretum. And so if you're a kid or a kid at heart, one thing we encourage you to do is come here and just start jumping up and down. And you can hear, it helps with, if you have a school group, it goes a lot better than with just one person, but it's fun for even just a couple that like to watch the water flow underneath the bridge. Well, this is our suspension bridge. It's actually our 3rd bridge. The first 2 were washed away because either in the monsoons or maybe due to snow melt in February, this becomes absolutely a raging river. You think you're in Missouri or something.
This old farmhouse dates back to the time before the Arboretum opened, when Arizona was not a state, but a territory, part of America's western frontier. There are still a few edible things being grown on this land, but mostly the Arboretum is a feast for the eyes. With most desert plants come bold, beautiful flowers. But the flowers aren't the only splashes of color you'll see here.
Fall color is big in November. However, a lot of people love Arizona in June for the cactus flowers. However, we have a lot of South American cactus flowers that actually bloom in September.
All of these flowering plants attract people with cameras and other more fascinating creatures, like these dragonflies. Throughout the summer months, you can join in on the Arboretum's Dragon Walks to find and photograph these bugs. Even get lessons on how to get one to land on your finger. Of course, the plants bring bugs and birds.
Probably our most famous creatures are the buzzards. We have welcome back buzzards and goodbye buzzards day. They're actually turkey vultures, but we'll have at least, at the top of the season, maybe over 100 coming in every night to roost. They have 3 different places they like to land, and it's kind of like watching a busy airport because they kind of take turns swooping down and coming to rest either on a mountain or in a tree.
Turkey vultures fly with their wings in that distinctive V shape while they soar. They'll usually build their nests high off the ground, So these spires of rock inside Boyce Thompson Arboretum make the perfect nesting neighborhood.
They're more fun to watch taking off in the morning because they kind of do this until they catch the air currents, and then they just kind of glide off in search for food. So they're fun. We have foxes, skunks we don't like to talk about. We have occasionally skunks. But Coatimundi is very popular. They come down maybe once a year to eat the myrtle berries.
Now, a lot of you may be asking, is there a better time of year to come out and enjoy Boyce Thompson Arboretum? And my answer is no. You can come out here all year long because different plants, different flowers bloom during the different seasons. So you can enjoy it spring, summer, winter, or fall. Many of our favorite foods are harvested in the fall. And although you can only pick them for several months, you can enjoy the fruits of your labor all year long.
Here at Apple Annie's Produce and Pumpkins, we have all kinds of crops. We start earlier in the season with our sweet corn, summer squash, tomatoes, eggplants, pretty much any veggie, you name it, we got it. Now we're in October, we have our pumpkins. We don't just have jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, we have the fairy tale, the Cinderella type pumpkins, different colors, white, pink, greens, gorgeous pumpkins of all shapes and sizes. Apple Annie's is located in Wilcox. Wilcox is in southeastern Arizona, right off of I-10, so it's really easy to get to from most anywhere. You just jump on I-10 and go east from most anywhere in Arizona. We are about 3 hours from the valley and about an hour and a half from Tucson. We have Granny Smith, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, Rum Beauties, Galas, Fuji, Pink Lady, and they all come off at different times during our season. We're open July through October, and you can go out and pick your own apples. You just pay for what you pick. We have buckets. We provide buckets for you to pick into and bags to transport your fruit home in. And we also on the weekends offer hay rides out to the apple orchards to pick the fruit.
Mary Kirkendall and her family own and operate Apple Annie's. They moved from the Valley to Wilcox in the 1970s, hoping to cash in on the booming commercial apple picking industry. But by the late 80s, that business was at the bottom of the barrel.
So they said, what are we going to do with all these trees? So we opened it up to the public, placed a little ad in the Wilcox paper, and people started coming out to pick. So from there, we started advertising a little bit in Tucson, and it's grown from there. We started out of our carport. We baked pies out of our kitchen. Our apple bread was developed. We made our own recipe for that, and that was all developed in my mom's kitchen.
Now there are acres and acres of apples, produce, and fun. And besides the perfect pumpkin, you can even pick sunflowers.
Where else can you do that in Arizona? So people come out to Wilcox or southern Arizona expecting the wild, wild west, you know, the tombstone type thing, and they get out here and see all this lush greenness, and it's what makes it a family tradition, a great escape from the city. It's cooler here. It's about 10 degrees cooler than Tucson and 15 degrees cooler than Phoenix during the day, and our nights get cool off a lot.
And don't forget to pick up some of that delicious apple bread, along with other goodies at their country store, which is open all year.
We have hundreds of jars of jarred goods on our shelves there, from apple butter to preserves and pickled items and salsas, and our fudge counter is very popular. We make all of our own fudge.
Back at the orchards with family activities like hay rides, corn bins, and a corn maze, it's easy to get lost in the excitement of the fall harvest.
All of the work that we've done all year long, and the sleepless nights, and working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, seeing the people have fun, getting their own things, hearing kids tell their parents, this is more fun than Disneyland, makes it all worth it.
Nothing screams fall like pie.
I've got apple, there's apple raisin, there's blackberry and blueberry, apricot, peach, pumpkin.
We have 9 different fruits. We have traditional apple, we have peach, we have blackberry,
cherry, there's mixed berry, strawberry rhubarb.
we have a butterscotch cream, we have a peanut butter pie, our apple bourbon, which has cranberries and nuts in it, and it's just like mounded. It's like 2.5 pounds of pie.
Now that's a lot of pie.
We're at Rock Springs in Rock Springs, Arizona, exit 242 off of I-17.
Rock Springs Cafe first opened in 1918 as a tent-covered general store and stagecoach stop. Today, it's the pie capital of Arizona.
My favorite pie was the mixed berry crumb.
Michael Sanford loves the cafe so much he wrote a book on its history. And word gets around, these purveyors of pie ship them out all over the country. So just how many? I can tell you, it's way more than pie squared.
In a year, it was 85 to 108,000 in slices and whole pies.
In Alpine, the locals say the best slice of pie is at the Bear Wallow Cafe.
Apple's the best seller.
Okay.
Strawberry rhubarb does good all year. Pumpkin is good in the fall.
Each one made from scratch.
So how many pies do you think you make a week?
I do about 70.
So of course, I had to try a few.
I love them all, but I think I'm gonna pick the cherry.
So, if you're searching for a slice of fall, all you have to do is head out on an Arizona highway.
Many of the wines you find on menus across Arizona come from right here. The Southern Arizona winemaker you're about to meet isn't just putting Arizona wines on the map, he's blazing a trail on uncharted territory.
Welcome to Dragoon Mountain Vineyards, home of Cellar 433 family of wines. Here in Wilcox, Arizona,
Winemaker John McLaughlin wears many hats here at his Southern Arizona vineyard.
I'm a purist, so I feel the winemaker should be a winemaker. I think if your hands aren't in the grapes, if your hands aren't in the vineyard, you're not a winemaker, you're not a vineyard.
He also likes to experiment.
The number of grapes that I currently have growing as far as varietals is roughly about 100 different varieties. That's traditionally a lot. Most people usually do 3, 4, 5.
And those grapes produce several lines of wine, including Arizona Angel, Sultry Cellars, Bitter Creek, Jerome Winery, and Odyssey Cellars.
The reason why I grow so many different varietals is to see what is going to grow very well here. And we don't know. Arizona is an unproven, untested ground. So those of us that are actually growing and planting right now, we're the trailblazers. We're trying to figure out what's going to put Arizona on the map.
And figuring out which grapes will do that for Arizona has also turned John into an innovator.
So I decided to start picking at night because I wanted to have cooler grapes because they're easier to deal with, they're easy to ferment.
As the sun sets over the vineyards, the night harvest is about to begin. John meets with his picking crew, which includes 2 French winemakers interning with John.
Arizona wine wasn't really what is really new for us because first of all I was like, what, they're making wine in Arizona? And yeah, it was pretty good to know that and to come and discover the way of winemaking and how they do wine with the weather in Arizona. For me it was just desert and like, wow.
Some of the vineyard we pick by hand. Some of the vineyard we actually pick with a machine. We are the only vineyard in the state that has a mechanical harvester. Once they're picked, you bring them into your processing center. You put them through a machine that's going to separate the grapes from the stems, leaves, and other things. It's called the destemmer / crusher, because what it does is it actually pushes the grapes and pops the skins. The biggest, greatest improvement that's going to take Arizona wine quality from where it was to where it is going now is basically night harvesting.
It's one of the many innovations these interns will take back to their French vineyards.
I discovered some new grapes here that I didn't know that some people don't grow in France, and I learned how John makes wine here, and I learned some tricks. And I'm not going to say that to you, say those tricks.
We're surprising people. A lot of us have taken some pretty heavy-duty big awards throughout the country that you would never expect. We are the pioneers. We are the renegades in the wine industry. We're doing things, we're having to experiment with things, we're having to come up with solutions that nobody else has ever had to deal with. When I say I'm a winemaker in Arizona, people are like, in Arizona? And I go, yeah. And they're like, why Arizona? And I said, because nobody else is doing it. We are the best kept secret in the wine industry.
Definitely local favorite would be the Railhead Red.
We have Granny Smith, Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, Rum Beauties, Galas.
I've got apple, there's apple raisin, there's blackberry and blueberry.
From gorgeous golds to full-bodied and hoppy reds, autumn is the perfect time to go out and explore and discover a whole new side of Arizona to fall in love with.
Thanks everyone so much for joining us. I'm Robin Sewell, and we'll see you on the next Arizona Highways.